This temple reminded me of the good old days, because all the temples had very noisy curtains like this. Close the curtains was the message. So the plan for this weekend, let's see what happens. The plan for this weekend is to conduct a japa retreat. And in the past, at least, many devotees have expressed that they benefited greatly in focusing on, at least for some time, focusing on and improving the quality of their chanting, the absorption of their chanting, the purpose behind chanting. I know right now in Vrindavan, there's a japa retreat that's for 8 days at the Govardhan Retreat Center with Sachinandan Swami and Burijan Prabhu by the side of Govardhan Hill. Shoo! Wonderful Sangha, wonderful place. Same focus. Of course, they have their way of doing. Sachinandan Swami has written a whole book on chanting of japa. Burijan has written a book on chanting of japa. He just calls it japa. That's the title of his book. So we'll be following in their footsteps to some degree. And the first class this evening is the first verse of Shikshashtakam. As we know, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is credited for having written just 8 verses. The rest of the teachings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu were given to his principal associates, who then in turn understood and realized and were empowered to write those literatures to embody his teachings. But these particular Ashtaka, 8 verses, are the essence of his teaching, and of course, he came to give what? Fill in the blank. Love of God. Freely. Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate. And specifically through the medium of the chanting of the holy name, so that his teachings on the chanting of the holy name are particularly important for us, chanters of the holy name. This first verse of Shikshashtakam has 7 parts, so we're going to be discussing those 7 parts. Just this first verse, the detail of this first verse has been covered in YouTube classes by Hari Parshad Prabhu. And so far, it's something like 8 or 9 classes just on the first verse. He hasn't gotten past the first verse yet. We're going to cover the first verse in one class because it's just going to be touching on the main points of the class, the main points of the verse. Twice we'll see this verse, as you see on the screen, so let's say it responsively. Or together rather. Cheto darpanam arjanam bhava mahadavagni nirvapanam shreya kairava chandrika vidharanam vidyavadho jivanam anandam buddhivardhanam pratipadam purnam ratasvadanam Sarvatma snapanam param vijayate Sri Krishna Sankirtanam. So rather than giving the full translation, we'll go through each of the 7, we're calling them 7 excellences. It starts with Chaitadarpanamarjanam. Chaita can mean different things, but in this case, the heart. Darpana is a mirror, and marjana means cleansing. So Chaita, Darpana, marjana, the first subjective experience or the practical effect of chanting is Chaita, that's the heart or the mind or materially sullied consciousness can become cleansed. This is 1950s painting of a lady advertising for a cleaner of glass. She's cleaning a mirror. But she's using some product and we're using the chanting of the holy name, or we're engaging with the chanting of the holy name. Param Vijayate, because the glories to the Sri Krishna Sankirtan, which cleanses the heart of all the dust accumulated for years together. So the painting is Gundicha Marjana. And Gundicha Marjana, you all know the pastime, it's Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his associates going to the end of Grand Road from Jagannath Temple to where Jagannath will stay for 1 week. But before they prepare Jagannath to go to the place where he's going to stay, they make it very clean. And they make it so clean, there's a wonderful description of the pastime. After cleaning, there's rivers and rivers and rivers of water, because the water is flowing from the temple, and they go through and clean it again. The understanding is, it's inviting for the Supreme Lord to reside or take shelter of a place that's very clean. It's one of the two most important items in deity worship, which is cleanliness. And with deity worship, so also with awakening our consciousness to our eternal relationship with Krishna. Make the heart clean. That's the starting point. And the starting point of making the heart clean is the chanting of the holy name. It's a very beautiful description in Chaitanya Charitamrita. The chanting of Krishna's name is a purifying agent that cleanses our heart of envy. We'll hear the verse from Bhagavad Gita where envy is spoken of. Raga Dvesha Samutena Dandavohena Bharata. Dvesha. Raga, two things. Raga and Dvesha. Raga, the material raga is enjoying material facilities, trying to enjoy material facilities. And Dvesha is our regard for the personality of Godhead. So these two things, Raga, Dvesha, Dvanva Mohena, the dualities of delusion that bewilder the living entities, are what's awaiting the person who has Raga and Dvesha. Raga for material pleasure, Dvesha towards what all these facilities are meant for. To the one who is the intended enjoyer, we're trying to replace him. So that's the Dvesha part. Here it's described as the root cause of our descent to this world, both Raga and Dvesha. And other bad qualities we have since acquired, like lust, greed, and anger. So here's a nice painting depicting the living entity leaving the spiritual realm. This is Goloka, and it's a very colorful depiction of Krishna and the cowherd boys and the gopis and Balaram and all the associates of Vrindavan. And in the lower right is the living entity leaving that association. Now that cloud is meant to depict the Mahatattva, the cloud of the material energy, passing through the cloud of the material energy, one enters into the other side of the cloud of the material energy, or Mahatattva, and there's Mahavishnu. And from Mahavishnu, many universes come, etc., etc. That's the material existence in the lower right corner. And leaving the spiritual existence for the material existence, the chanting of the holy name has the power, of course it's gradual, but the power is there to remove that inclination. Now this is color-coded so you can see. Instead of saying raga dvesha, it says icha dvesha samutena dvandva mohena bharata. Dvandva mohena, the duality of delusion, or bewildered by the dualities of material existence. It arises in the heart. Sarvabhutani sammoham sarge yanti parantapa. Bhagavad Gita, chapter 7. O conqueror of foe, parantapa. Parantapa. Arjuna is addressed more than once in Bhagavad Gita as parantapa, conqueror of the foes. Sarva bhutani sammoham, born into delusion. Sarge yanti parantapa. All living entities are born into delusion, bewildered by the dualities arising, or that was arisen from, desire and hate. So this icha and dvesha, icha, desire, or, desire. Now, creation, or everything of this material world, comes about through the agency of the Lord's energies. And what moves the energies of the Lord? One thing, icha. He just desires, and his energies do things. So he does nothing, but his energies do everything. But the one thing he does is he desires. And his desire, he announces in Bhagavad Gita, he wants us to take shelter of him. But supposing we say no, I have another desire. I want to enjoy separately from you. And not only that, I have dvesha towards you because you're the real enjoyer. And how can I be the enjoyer if you're the real enjoyer? And so they're companions, icha and dvesha. So there's a place for living entities like that, this material world. And we take birth in the material world. So it's a nice understanding. Is it possible to overcome that tendency? The tendency, according to Scripture, the tendency, it's a type of ignorance, or it's a broad, and the broad umbrella, broad category of ignorance, and these are different types of ignorance, little baby ignorances from mother ignorance. And the effects of ignorance, due to dvesha and envy, is a dirty mind. So those desires and rebelliousness is a function of the mind. Thinking, feeling, willing. It's a real simple formula. Very simple. Very simple. The mind has these three functions: thinking, feeling, willing. So material desire and aversity towards the Supreme rests in the mind. But the mind gets a big assist from intelligence. So its resting place is also the intelligence that misdirects the mind towards the desire of the mind or desire of the living entity is to be a competitor enjoyer, dvesha, or envy. And then consciousness and the intelligence and the mind all become contaminated or dirty. So how to deal with that? Cleansing the heart. Chaita darpana marjanam. And as this lady is cleansing a mirror, behind the mirror there's dust collected on the mirror. She's using a dust rag and some spray bottle. But the spray bottle for the heart is the holy name. Nice illustration, isn't it? You'd have a nice bottle and just spray Hare Krishna mantra on the mirror and make the mirror clean. The idea is not to make the holy name our janitor. The idea is to take shelter of the holy name, and when the holy name appears in one's heart, then the heart becomes cleansed. To explain this from another perspective, there's a nice discussion in Bhakti Sandarbha. Many of you know Bhakti Sandarbha. It's one of the 6 Sandarbhas by Jiva Goswami. Very important one, a very long one. I have a dear friend, a godbrother, who's been studying Bhakti Sandarbha for like a year. We're planning one day we'll have a little seminar together on Bhakti. And he's going to be really knowledgeable because he's really been... So here's a section, Anuchhed 263, making reference to a passage from Vishnu Dharmottara Purana, where there was a Chhatrabandhu, the fallen Kshatriya, Chhatrabandhu, who went to a Brahmana, expressing to the Brahmana, in this lifetime I've committed many, 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 many of the worst types of sins. What can I do? I now want to fess up and atone for my sins. So the Brahmana in Vishnu Dharmottara Purana gave a lengthy, it's described in Bhakti Sandarbha, too many things. And the person hearing the too many things said, it's too many things. I cannot do what you said, since my mind is fickle. Tell me what can be done using my body and words. The Brahmana said, if you can't do all this, I will tell you something else which is easy if you will do what I say. And guess what? The holy name. O son, whether in hunger, thirst, or falling down while standing up, lying down, departing, or coming, sing the holy name of Govinda. Too simple, right? Make it more complicated. He already rejected the complicated. And that's very simple. It's so simple, it seems too simple. So we don't take it so seriously, so we're going to spend some time appreciating the glories of that which is so simple. Here's one of those examples. It's from Canto 6, Chapter 2, which is the Ajamila story. And the Yamadutas, came to take the sinful, so sinful. There's a Brahmabandhu, a fallen Brahmana who became very, very sinful. And they came to take his soul away because he was at the time of death. Shri Shri Radha Shama Sundara Ki Jai. So at the time of death, when the Yamadutas came, this is not a BBT painting. The BBT painting is very nice, but we get the idea. They're pretty scary guys. They came to take the soul of Ajamila out of his body and take him to the court of Yamaraj for sentencing for his bad activities. Seeing the Yamadutas, he panicked and he called out very loudly that which he is most attached to, that is his youngest son, who he named Narayana because of his childhood or in his youth stage of life. He was engaged in Brahminical activities, so he named his son with that in mind, Narayana. So he called Narayana, as you know the story. And when they called Narayana, the agents of Narayana came and told the Vishnu to stop. With such a commanding tone, they stopped. Who are you? And why have you, who's ever stopped death? Who ever heard of this before? We've never heard of this before. We're agents of death. No one has ever stopped us. So anyway, because he chanted the holy name of Lord Hari or Lord Narayana, even once, even by following the Vedic ritual ceremonies or undergoing atonement, sinful men do not become as purified as by chanting once the holy name of Lord Hari. So we chant more than once. We should. Again and again and again. But the power is there in the chanting of, this is the focusing on the power to cleanse the reactions of our past misdeeds. It's a nice teaching. Sinful activities arise from ignorance. Well, the material activities, sinful or pious, arise from ignorance. The root cause of suffering is ignorance. So cleansing ignorance, avidya, is very important. Supposing one's ignorance has greatly increased, and that greatly increased condition of ignorance produces fear. There's a nice verse, amongst many nice verses in the Bhagavatam, Bhayam dutiyam abhiniveshitak syat ishadapetasya viparya yosmati tanmaya yato buddha abhyajatam makyaika yesham guru devatatma. So, bhayam means fear. Dvitiya means duality. Abhinivesha means absorption in. One who is absorbed in the bodily conception, that's duality. Fear arises, bhayam syat. Fear arises in the heart of someone who has taken shelter of the bodily conception of life. Ishad apetasya viparya yosmati. They've completely forgotten. Here's the translation. Fear arises when a living entity misidentifies himself with the material body because of absorption in the external illusory energy of the Lord, when the living entity thus turns away. Ishad apetasya viparya yosmati. He becomes forgetful of his own constitutional position. It's domino effect. This bewildering, fearful condition is effected by the potency for illusion called maya. Therefore, here's the good news. An intelligent person should engage unflinchingly in the unalloyed devotional service of the Lord under the guidance of a bona fide spiritual master, whom he should accept as his worshipable deity in his very life and soul. So the topic is this first, we're still in the first one of the 7 excellences, Chaitadharpana Marjanam. So that, what is this sullied consciousness? It's material identification with dvesha towards the Lord and identification with I am the enjoyer of matter. Ignorance, when it becomes mature, it becomes fear. Like an animal. Here comes danger. You don't have to think about it, just the nervous system reacts. Qualities like having no fear are produced by chanting the name, but are not parts of the cultivation of the name. What does this mean? It's not the goal, it's a byproduct. It's secondary, it's not primary. Because bhakti itself is dependent upon anything else. Krishna is independent, Krishna's name and Krishna are not different. The holy name is independent. So one may, it's certainly possible, one may chant to become free from fear. Some people chant when they feel fear. You call Krishna's name. Some people just scream, some people cry, some people call, oh God, save me. And a devotee, because they know who God is, they call his name. But becoming free from fear is secondary. The primary is that our true spiritual identity becomes awakened. That's primary. And removal of the coverings is secondary. So this Chaitadharpana Marjanam, it's a secondary because it's revealing the primary. To say the same thing. When we engage in devotional service, there are 2 things that happen. Coverings are removed, original consciousness is restored. That's if we do it properly, in good association, for a prolonged period of time. But the potency is there, Chaitadharpana Marjanam. Now, as we go along, the commentary is going to reveal that there are stages of bhakti. This is the beginning stage. It's the beginning stage. Anyone can chant. Anyone can chant. A child can chant. A bad person can chant. A bad person can become a good person from chanting, or engage in hearing others chanting. There's some wonderful stories about that, but it isn't story time. There isn't time for stories. Bhava Mahadavagni Nirvapanam. There's 2 words, bhava and bhava. We're not speaking bhava, we're speaking bhava. Material existence. Bhava. Maha. We know what maha is. It's prasadam, right? Maha means great. And dhava is a forest agni fire, blazing forest fire, great big forest fire. Nirvapanam. What can extinguish a blazing forest fire? Downpours of rain. Blazing fire of material existence becomes extinguished. And extinguishes the fire of conditional life, of repeated birth and death. The painting is one of 2 times when Krishna swallowed a forest fire in his Braja Leela. 2 times. He is, because the cowherd boys, they were fearful. Forest fire in a Vrindavan forest is dangerous. Krishna. He just asked them, close your eyes. You're in for a big surprise. The forest fire, he ate the forest fire. He extinguishes the fire of conditional life, repeated birth and death. As it purifies, that's the first Chaitadarpana Marjanam, Krishna's name also protects sincere chanters from any further contamination from the worldly energy and those affected by it. This is making reference to another verse of the Bhagavatam, Nitya Vairinam, the eternal, from Bhagavad Gita, the eternal enemy of the living entity is Kama Rupena, the form of lust or the feature of lust. And lust is such that's never, like a fire, Dushparena Analena Cha, it's never satisfied and it burns like fire, lust. And forest fires can be very dangerous. There's many things in this world that are dangerous. This is one of them. And once it starts, as we heard, do you have a Bhagavad Gita, chapter 6? It's not here. There's a Bhagavatam, but not a chapter 6, Bhagavad Gita. Can you find the verse 6.20, please? Here's what Krishna has to say about chapter 6. What's chapter 6? Dhyan Yoga, meditation, Dhyan Yoga. Verse number 20. In the stage of perfection. That was quick. We went to perfection already. Called trance or samadhi. One's mind is completely restrained from material mental activities by practice of yoga. This perfection is characterized by one's ability to see the capital S self by the pure mind and to relish and rejoice in the capital S self. In that joyous state, one is situated in boundless transcendental happiness, realized through transcendental senses. Established thus, one never departs from the truth, and upon gaining this, he thinks there is no greater gain. But being situated in such a position, one is never shaken. Even in the midst of the greatest difficulty. Indeed, this is actual freedom from all miseries arising from material contact. So why do we come into material contact? That was described earlier. Raga, or Icha Dvesha, or Raga Dvesha, desire and hate. And once we're in contact, it's difficult. And the chanting of the purpose of this second excellence is that it extinguishes that ignorance which is the root cause. It doesn't do it all at once. Just like a forest fire, there has to be torrents of rain and it has to keep coming and keep coming and keep coming. And light rain is just going to become mist and smoke and fog, but heavy rain, so the chanting needs to be done. And all of our devotional activity need to be done with enthusiasm and with vigor, with strength, and over a long period of time. What this verse just describes as a kind of mindfulness, there's a picture of Buddha, because Buddhism spends much time not on the holy name, but spends time on trying to become mindful of what the sources of misery are. Now, if you're Buddhist, the source of misery is desire. Fill in the blank. The root cause of suffering is desire. The way to become free from suffering, not chant Hare Krishna, but become free from desire. And the method, not chanting Hare Krishna, the method is live a life of goodness, beginning with ahimsa and other qualities, cleanliness, truthfulness, charity, etc. Frame your life in a quality of goodness and practice mindfulness. I'm getting distracted by some nice teaching from Jiva Goswami. So what does mindfulness mean? Mindfulness means, in practical application, discipline one's mind in such a way that it doesn't go away from what you're doing at the moment. It's the same teaching is there, by the way, the same teaching is there in Bhakti. It's right there in Bhakti Sandarbha. To come to the stage of spiritual perfection, you have to practice mindfulness in desire that's directed towards the Supreme Lord. I'll just stop with that. Mindfulness for a devotee is not the mindfulness of a Buddhist. Mindfulness of a devotee is each moment there's our constitutional activity of being engaged in some service to someone and repose that service tendency upon the Supreme, starting with the holy name, etc., by sound, by hearing the sound of the holy name in Scripture, moment to moment, not just completing the task of 16 rounds or some particular service, but the act of giving to the Supreme Personality of Godhead what one has. That's our mindfulness. Maybe you are aware of this teaching or history. It's in the Bhagavatam of Sagara, who was a king, was engaged in Ashvamedha Yagyas, and he did so many, and Indra got nervous, and so he kidnapped the horse. And to hide the horse, he brought the horse to the place way down at the lower regions of the universe, where Lord Kapila resides, and you see in the painting, there's the horse, and he left. And when the horse was sent by the father, 60,000 sons, when they saw the horse, there's many things that happened. When they saw the horse, they thought, aha, here's the thief. And so they went to attack him, 60,000. And because Lord Kapila was engaged in meditation, it was an easy target, 60,000 sons against one. But their bodies burnt into ashes. Nitya-vairina. They burnt into ashes by their own sinful tendency, trying to kill you can't kill Lord Kapila Dev, sorry, he has a spiritual body. You can't kill a spiritual body. But with that intention, their bodies burst into flames. That's one way to extinguish the blazing fire of material existence. You go to attempt to kill Lord Kapila, and your body's going to burst into flames. From the 12th canto Bhagavatam, this is the concluding canto, the concluding chapter of the concluding canto. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the Supreme Lord Hari, the congregational chanting of whose holy name destroys all sinful reactions, and the offering of obeisances unto whom relieves all material suffering. Nice. Bhavamaha Davagni Nirvapanam. Extinguishes the blazing fire of material existence. In the sixth canto, the same, this is the Ajamila section. Other processes cannot be successful because even after following such methods, one takes to fruitive activities again, unable to control his mind, which is contaminated by the base qualities of material nature. Poor mind. Contaminated. So, in short, there isn't an alternative. The blazing fire of material existence needs one thing to extinguish it: a downpour of rain that doesn't stop. Lord Brahma teaches the same thing in his prayers to Krishna. Karmani nirdhita kinchu cha bhakti bhajam. This bhakti bhajam, the engagement in all forms of devotional service. Bhakti bhajam. It minimizes, or Govinda minimizes, or nullifies the reactionary influence of the devotee's past deeds. This is the Bhavamaha Davagni. We haven't gotten so far. We're still on excellence number 2, where we have 5 more to go. Bhakti Bhajam includes all forms of Bhagavad Dharma. And when does this, of course, it takes some faith to engage in bhakti, but according to Bhakti Sandarbha, by performance of kirtan. This is a japa retreat. By performance of kirtan, one attains faith in the Lord far greater than the faith attained by meditation or any other spiritual practice. By meditation performed in the Satya Yuga, one does not attain the same deep faith in the Supreme Lord. In Kali Yuga, according to Skanda Purana, the great devotees worship the Lord by performing kirtan. These words in Skanda Purana glorify the performance of kirtan, which brings great faith. Now, it requires preliminary faith. Here's a nice teaching. Bhakti begins with faith. It's nurtured with faith, and the perfection is a mature stage of faith, beginning and middle and end. According to Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, one way of describing the 9 stages of bhakti is stages of faith, starting with a seed, and then the seed grows and it grows and it grows. But by kirtan, that faith becomes very great because things become cleansed. And the blazing fire of material existence, repeated birth and death, becomes extinguished. And now we're ready for excellence number 3, which is a nice metaphor. It's speaking of a white lotus, Kairava. And not only a white lotus, but a white lotus of good fortune, Shreya Kairava. That's like Chandrika Vitaranam, the spreading of moonshine. During the day, it's nice to know, during the day, lotuses open. And as the sun sets, lotuses close. When the sun rises in the morning, maybe you've seen places where they have lotus is growing, but that's just a characteristic of lotuses. But when the moonshine is very bright, then the moonshine, the white lotus of good fortune, opens the petals by the benediction rays of the moon. It expands the petals of the white lotus. It's a nice metaphor. So in this dark age of Kali, light comes. Of course, the Bhagavatam teaches, the Bhagavatam is as brilliant as the sun, even in the nighttime of Kali Yuga. It brings light into the dark age of Kali. And the holy name similarly. So how is it that the moon, not the lotus, has become the source of benediction? Because it opens the petals of the lotus. The Sankirtan movement is the prime benediction for humanity at large because it spreads the rays of the benediction moon. In darkness, light comes from the spreading of the rays of the in this Kali Yuga. The Sankirtan provides that light. It's very practical. It works. I mean, depending upon the receptivity of individuals, even people that aren't so receptive, there's spiritual transcendental benefit going on when there's public kirtan. And having that faith, devotees will go in public kirtan and spread in the darkest places, without naming the names, the darkest places. Chanting awakens Shreyas, pure devotion to Krishna. The soul's dormant propensity to serve the Lord with love and further chanting revives the loving devotion which qualifies one for the greatest good fortune, Krishna's association. Now this is higher stages of coming up, higher stages of bhakti, but Krishna's association is present immediately when his the chanting of his name is going on. The chanter, the hearer, are being given the opportunity to associate with Krishna. I hear a child making a lot of noise. Can something be done? Oh, parents of the child making the noise, please do the needful. It always happens. I mean, children make noise. There's nothing wrong with being a child. Anyway, Hare Krishna. The focus now is going to Shreya, in this third excellence, Shreya Kairava, Chandrika Vidharanam. Pure devotion to Krishna, Shreya Kairava, Chandrika Vidharanam. The same word Shreya is used in Brahma's prayers to Krishna. Canto 10, Chapter 14. My dear Lord, devotional service unto you is the best path for best path for self-realization. Shreya, Shritim, Bhaktim. Same destruction comes in Katha Upanishad. In Katha Upanishad, this is a discussion between Yamaraj, you see the scepter with a skull on the top. That's Yamaraj. And the person who he's speaking to is a young Brahmin boy named Nachiketa. And he gives this instruction to the young boy. The instruction to the young boy starts with Shreya, right at the top, Katha Upanishad. Shreyas cha, prayas cha, Manusyam etas. Here's the translation. The wise reject the preyas and choose instead the shreyas, that which is permanently beneficial. The foolish choose preyas with its resultant conceptions of gain and the acquisition of fleeting pleasures, because that's the carrot that entices people to go after material happiness or material objects that are supposed to bring happiness, or material prosperity. You can get objects and get material happiness. That's the wrong choice. The right choice is this first one. So far, for those that came a little bit later, we're going through the 7 excellences of Shikshashtakam, the first verse of Shikshashtakam. And so far we've covered 3. And it's the purpose of Shikshashtakam is to give shiksha, or instructions, in the chanting of the holy name. Since this is the japa retreat, we're starting there. Lord Chaitanya is our guide in understanding how to become successful in life in the dark age of Kali. So far we've covered the first 3 excellences: cleansing the heart, extinguishing the blazing fire of material existence, preventing further contamination to come, and awakening Shreyas, Shreya Chandrika Vidharanam. And the 4th, Vidya Vadhu Jivanam. Nice poetry. The wife, who is the life of all education. Vidya Vadhu Jivanam. Now, this is describing, for those of you that know something about the stages of bhakti, the first 3 stages of bhakti have been discussed. The first 3 stages of bhakti: Adar Shraddha, Tatat Sadhu Sangha, Bhajana Kriya. Yes? And then comes the 4th one, which is Anartha Vritti. So in those first 3 excellences, sins and the reactions to previous sins are gradually washed away. And our hearts become filled with true happiness. At least that's possible. Then comes the stage of the 4th excellence, that's the stage of nishtha. Now this is commentary from our acharyas, but this nishtha is when contaminations are largely removed, so much removed that although there's still contamination, they can't act because bhakti has become so strong. Bhakti overpowers residual unwanted things. And this, a symptom of this 4th stage is, or 4th excellence, is where knowledge of the science of devotional service gives strength, that is to say, intelligence further guides the mind towards the stage of excellence. So it's the stage of perfection. One's mind and intelligence become fixed, and one's practice becomes steady. And then coming attractions, following nishtha, ruchi, and asakti. In Srimad Bhagavatam, our main source of information, the main source of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's teachings, for that matter, there's a discussion between Narada Muni and King Prachinibari, 4th canto. And King Prachinibari is a pious king. At the same time, he's indulging in karmakanda rituals, particularly animal sacrifice, because it brings prosperity to him and his kingdom. So Narada pays him a visit. And the visit has this saying at the top, Sa vidya tanmatir yaya. The purpose of education is one thing, to become elevated in Krishna consciousness. Say it negatively. If you become well educated, but you don't become elevated in Krishna consciousness, that's not education. It's something else. It's ignorance. Vidya, it becomes avidya. And one may become very proud of that attainment of modern education or material education, and do things and be successful and have a good income and enjoy life. But that's not it's not what real enjoyment is. It's not what real happiness is. It's illusory condition. Real education. This is Narada to the king. Real education is elevation in Krishna consciousness. This is a cut and paste translation of Prabhupada's translation of the verse. Narada is very direct, and the king's taking it because he's in Narada's association. He's a pious king. He knows he's getting the real thing, not just karma kanda or material elevation for himself or his kingdom. Devotional service focused exclusively on increasing our attachment to Krishna is the goal of education. It's Prabhupada's purport. As well as the force that drives us forward. Forward towards what? Forward towards the goal of life. If you don't know what is the goal of life, good luck. You're not likely to get there. You're likely to get somewhere, but not the goal of life. So real education is to help people understand what's the goal of life. Do you know people that work really hard and they don't really know why they're working really hard? Or say it, they don't know what the goal of life is. They may even have a notional idea, but that's not what their focus is. Their focus is doing what you're supposed to do, be successful. And whatever it is, whatever it is. And it's very common. It's not shame on those people. It's just the education system is such that it doesn't emphasize it, so we're emphasizing it. The Bhagavatam emphasizes it. And here's the Vadhu, the young bride. And the young bride of Vidya, she gives transcendental knowledge. Vidya Vadhu Jivanam. Vidya Vadhu Jivanam. It's the life of transcendental knowledge. The chanting of the holy name brings vidya. It removes avidya. There's a very special verse, gets a lot of attention in the Bhagavatam and in Chaitanya Charitamrita, because Lord Chaitanya explained in many ways this Atmarama verse, very celebrated section. We'll see it in a moment. Sutta Goswami said, this is the verse. All different varieties of Atmaramas, Atma, Rama, those who take pleasure in the Atma, especially those established on the path of self-realization. In other words, they're focused on going down that path of life. Though freed from all kinds of material bondage, desire to render unalloyed service, unalloyed devotional service unto the personality of Godhead. This means that the Lord possesses transcendental qualities and therefore can attract everyone, including the liberated souls. I hope it's clear. I'll say it again, just regular language. Even those who are liberated are attracted to devotional service, which means devotional service is transcendental. It's personal. There's variety. There's love. there's desire. It's not desirelessness, it's with the desire to please the Supreme Lord. Even the liberated souls, the Atmaramas, those are already satisfied within themselves, engage in service to the personality of Godhead because it's of the realm of transcendence. It's not something to leave behind. It's the mature stage of Atmarama. In Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's discussion with Sanatana Goswami, he says, with the exception, specific to the Atmarama verse, with the exception of devotional service, all methods of self-realization are like the nipples on the neck of a goat. Have you seen nipples on the neck of a goat? Here's a goat. And on the neck of the goat, there's sometimes these little things dangling. They look like nipples. Therefore, but they don't deliver milk. Therefore, an intelligent person adopts only devotional service, giving up all other processes of self-realization. Now, I have a little section here. It's from a New York Times article a few years ago. 108 leading yoga practitioners with whom practice is not an exercise regimen, but a spiritual journey. They were interviewed. And unfortunately, doing what this fellow is doing, it may not be easy, but doesn't it help them attain bhakti? And if they don't attain bhakti, then what does the Bhagavatam say? Shrama eva hi kevalam. They're missing the point. The whole purpose is to please the personality of Godhead, and they miss the point. It's not easy to do what this fellow's doing. Now, I made reference to a verse in the Bhagavatam, Canto 6, Chapter 2, same section. This is the Ajamila section. I'll let you look it up yourselves. I have the book, but because of time, I'm just going to move forward. And this whole article, very nice article, New York Times article, but glorifying this and that and the other thing, and it's popular. There's a lot of people that are interested in meditation and yoga, or just meditation, or just yoga. But without bhakti, vidya vadhu jivanam, it's missing. Here's Srila Prabhupada in Bombay, giving a class on chapter 25 of Srimad Bhagavatam, and he's describing the different processes of chanting of the holy name, reading of the scripture. These are activities of bhakti itself, and the activities of bhakti itself, even one may be a small child, or whoever one may be. The process of meditation and hearing the message of transcendence has potency. Vidyavadho jivanam. We're almost done with this particular section. By rendering devotional service unto the personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, one immediately or gradually acquires causeless knowledge and detachment. Who knows the verse? Who would like to recite the verse? 1, 2, 7. Vasudevi Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojataha Janiyatra Ashu Vairagyam Jnanam Chalyadahaitukam. Sound familiar? Vasudevi Bhagavati. That's the verse on the board. Janiyata ashu means very quickly. Vairagyam, detachment from the world. Jnanam cha, knowledge and detachment. Ahaitukam, causelessly awakened. That is to say, they're a subset of bhakti. Knowledge and detachment are revered in spiritual discipline. I'll say it again. Knowledge and detachment are the process, but it's also, they're very high regard. Any tradition, you name it, knowledge and renunciation. And it's part of the package of bhakti, according to Srimad Bhagavatam, and according to our practical experience. Our ride in the material world isn't the same as persons who are devoid of bhakti. And as bhakti grows, it's a whole different experience. The same place, but whole different experience. Detachment and knowledge. Through the medium of bhakti. Vidya vadhu jivanam. It's the life of the young bride of transcendental knowledge. That's the vadhu, the young bride. A result of acquiring devotion is that the devotee becomes illuminated with spiritual knowledge. Further chanting matures that knowledge into realization. Keep going, Prabhus. Which in time reveals the devotee's original position in one of the 5 relationships with Krishna. It's progressive, but you have to start somewhere, and you start and stay with it by proper application of the process. So remember, the commentary was saying we quickly moved to the nishtha stage, where unwanted things are nearly removed, and when the unwanted things are nearly removed, the awakening of knowledge, vidya, the young bride, vadhu, of transcendental knowledge manifests through the medium of bhakti. Now, we've gone at 1 hour and 15 minutes. And I don't know, discussion part is usually the best part of class. Any interaction, but I've only finished 4 of 7. So I think I'm going to keep going because it's nice to complete. That's for those of you that came a little bit late. This is the entire Shikshashtakam verse number 1, and we're going to say it together if you don't mind. Cheto darpanam arjanam bhava mahadavagni nirvapanam shreya kairava chandrika vidharanam vidyabadho jivanam anandam bodhivardhanam pratipadam purnamrita svadanam sarvatma snapanam param vijayate Sri Krishna Sankirtanam. So we covered 4, here's number 5. Ananda. Now we moved very quickly. We're already at the bhava stage of bhakti. I hope your seatbelt is fastened, because we moved quickly. Bhava, or Ananda, Ambudhi, is an ocean. And there's an ocean that keeps increasing. Anandam, Ambudhi, Vardhanam. This is the 5th excellence, which is one of the waves of spiritual emotion within the devotee's heart. And as yet, ecstasies of emotion have not yet fully matured, because that comes at the prema stage. Spiritual development no longer depends upon material conditions. Since contaminations and material conditioning have been uprooted, bhava proceeds unimpeded, abundantly manifesting flowers of the bhakti creeper, soon to be transformed into the fruits. That's prema. So here's a nice painting of an ocean. But it's an ocean, an ambudhi, that is ever increasing. Ananda ambudhi, this is an ocean of salt water, and there's an ocean of ananda. Anandam ambudhi. By the way, that's one of the names of Radharani. She's Ananda Chinmaya Rasa. She's the essence of Ananda. That is to say, Krishna has some powers. He has the power of illusion, Maya Shakti. He also has the Ananda portion. The Ananda portion of Krishna's internal potency, Yogamaya. And here's a nice deity of Yogamaya that you may have seen if you've been to Vrindavan. This is the Yogamaya that is presiding or residing in the place where Krishna performed rasa dance. It's a nice temple, Yogamaya deity. Here's a close-up of the deity. Here's Bhaktivinoda Thakur. That person is a true preceptor. This is his teachings of Sharanagati. A true father, a true mother, and a true friend. Also, only if they teach one to always remember Harir Nam Eva Kevalam. During this retreat, we're going to be singing and discussing the Kevalastakam song, and this is Bhaktivinoda Thakur discussing it in his Sharanagati. Ambudhi Ananda Ambudhi Vardhanam. It increases the ocean of transcendental bliss. As much as the heart is relieved of unwanted habits, this is in very elevated stages of bhakti. To that degree we become devoted to Krishna. As much as devotion is firmly fixed in our hearts, to that degree we acquire realized knowledge. And as much as the heart is illuminated by both devotion and knowledge, to that degree we taste spiritual happiness. Remember the verse 1, 2, 7. Bhakti causelessly awakens knowledge and detachment, and these knowledge and detachment, or devotion and knowledge, Ananda. It's awaiting us. There's mitigation of the sufferings, but that's not Ananda. Ananda is something else. And the ocean swells and it swells. We're almost done. We're at Pratipadam Purna Amrita Asvadanam. Pratipadam, step by step. Purna Amrita, complete, full nectar. Amrita Asvadanam. So the ocean of bliss has increased. It gives us a taste for the Amrita. Now, Amrita has different meanings. That by which one becomes deathless. You know, for the story of the churning of the milk ocean, there was this Amrita. But in the heavenly realm, it's Somarasa. Because by drinking Somarasa, they live a long time. But this isn't just live a long time. One becomes literally deathless. And deathlessness is resuming our position in the spiritual world. That's Purna Amrita. Resuming our position in the spiritual world. This is a painting of you know. This is Gopakumar. Through chanting of the holy name, he has come to the position of returning to Goloka. And Krishna is waiting for him, saying, "It took you so long. I thought you'd come in this lifetime, but you didn't come. In the next lifetime, I thought, surely he'll come in this lifetime, but you didn't come. And lifetime after lifetime, you didn't come. Now you come. Please never leave." And he embraces Gopakumar. And Gopakumar melts. According to the verses glorifying the 6 Goswamis, they are also very expert Premamritam ambo nidhi. Ambo is water. They increase the ocean of material happiness also by their teachings, by their association in distributing Krishna consciousness so excellently and liberally as they did. One of those 6 Goswamis is Sanatana Goswami, and he writes in one of his books, Brihat Bhagavatamrita, dearer to the Lord than even his own beautiful form, his easily worshipped holy name benefits the entire world. Indeed, nothing is as full of nectar, sa, rasam, as the holy name of the Lord. This is Gopakumar in his journey to get back to Goloka Vrindavan. He meets the associates of Vaikuntha because they're descending in this mature world to go on Sankirtan. And they say, hey, Gopakumar, we headed. So they give some nice teachings about continue with your chanting because it's full of nectar. And the prema stage, Rupa Goswami certainly discusses. It's one of the 3 sections. There are 3 sections of Rupa Goswami's nectar devotion or Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. 1, 2, 3. Sadhana, that's us. Bhava, we're not there yet. And prema, that's a long distance away. But in the stage of prema, his description, rati or bhava for Krishna, derives even the conception of liberation. That's in the bhava stage. And in the prema stage, there's characteristics of pure devotional service. The prema stage is beyond that. Here's a very nice teaching. I'm going quickly, if you haven't noticed, so we can finish. A very nice verse composed by Vyasadeva. It is the source of the title of one of Bhaktivinoda Thakur's books, Harinam Chintamani. So, the holy name of Krishna is transcendentally blissful. It bestows all spiritual benedictions, for it is Krishna himself, the reservoir of all pleasure. Krishna's name is complete, Purna Shuddho, and it is the form of all transcendental mellows. It is not a material name under any condition, and it is no less powerful than Krishna himself. Since Krishna's name is not contaminated by any material qualities, Nitya Mukto, there is no question of its being involved with Maya. Krishna's name is always liberated, Nitya Mukto, and spiritual. It is never conditioned by the laws of material nature. This is because Binatvam Nama Namino, the name of Krishna and Krishna himself are identical. So Rupa Goswami has included this in his Padyavali. It's composed by Vyasadeva, and it's a great source of teaching, Harinam Chintamani. Very nice book. Here's a quote from Sridhar Swami about chanting, also from Padyavali. O Lord, is your impersonal spiritual effulgence not always present everywhere? Even so, it has not been able to break even a single small leaf from the tree of repeated birth and death. On the other hand, the moment your holy name is taken by the tongue, it thoroughly shatters the tree of birth and death down to its roots of these 2, the spiritual effulgence or the holy name, which should be served. Beautiful. And the realizations of our great acharyas. Here's Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to Sanatan Goswami, Chaitanya Charitamrita. Pure love for Krishna is eternally situated in the hearts of all of the living entities. Who knows the verse? Nitya Siddha, Krishna Prema, Sadhya Kabunoi, Shravanadi Shuddha Chitte Karaye Udoy. It is not something to be gained from another source. When the heart is purified, Shravanadi Shuddha Chitte, by hearing and chanting, this love naturally awakens. That's what we're doing during our japa retreat. We're hearing the glories of what the holy name is, and then pratipadam. If we perform Nam Sankirtan with love, we will see Krishna either internally or externally at every step. No, that's when the heart becomes pure. Pratipadam purnasvaradam. It enables us to fully taste the nectar for which we are always anxious. When devotees finally achieve the perfection of chanting, they taste the full nectar of loving devotion for Krishna, or to Krishna. A nectar that makes the bliss of liberation seem insignificant. It's one of the characteristics of the prema stage. It derides even the conception of liberation. And last, just 3 more slides. Sarvatma snapanam. Sarva, Atma, Snapanam. Sarva, Atma, Snapanam is taking a bath, or bathing the Atma is meant for everyone. It gives a cooling effect to everyone. Chanting frees the conditioned souls of the illusion of identifying themselves with their body and mind. It establishes them in the cleansed and cooling reality that they are eternal spiritual entities. It's a nice painting or photograph of Prabhupada. It was said that whenever publications would come, of course this is a Bhagavad Gita publication, it's just a reprint by Macmillan, because it was a long story of how that happened. But when he got a copy, everything stops, and there's his personal servant, just looking to see the big not only he would smile, his whole body would radiate. I mean, he was sacrificing and sacrificing to give the world Krishna Bhakti, and one of the principal mediums was through his books. It would live long after himself, as we're experiencing. Param Vijayate Sri Krishna Sankirtanam. Let there be victory, Vijayate, for the congregational chanting of the holy name. Now, that's congregational chanting. We're going to be doing some congregational chanting, but a lot of individual japa. And that's the end of this evening's presentation. This 7 excellences of chanting the holy name. Lights on. Well, you made it even despite the bad weather. Congratulations. Let's see what happens tomorrow. I heard there may be snow tomorrow. Yes? No snow tomorrow. Okay, that's good. Any comments or discussion? Yes, in the back.
Thank you. Hare Krishna Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisance. All glories to Prabhupada. Maharaj, you mentioned about the mindfulness of the Buddhists and how it contrasts with the mindfulness of a devotee.
Yeah.
And please correct me if I'm wrong, I was thinking on this, and I'm reminded of Prabhupada's, one of his instructions, for chanting, and I chant improperly. But Prabhupada says that continue chanting, even though you're doing
Yeah.
it imperfectly,
Yeah.
you will attain perfection. Whereas the mindfulness in the regular sense that we understand, if you don't do it properly, you will not get the desired result. If your mind is somewhere else, whatever else that you're doing, the outcome is not going to be proper. But here I'm thinking that I'm chanting, there's so much of aparad, abhas, whatever, but still continue doing that. It is mindful in itself and it will take us to the stage of perfection.
So the question is, the punchline of your question is at the very end, and your voice sped up. So say it, last part, just the last part. The last part.
The last part is, Maharaj, that even though we are doing something in bhakti, we are doing improperly, like chanting,
Yeah.
it will still take you to perfection.
The potential is there.
Okay?
The potential is there. Perfection, potential is there. It's not continue being inattentive and you reach perfection. Continue being distracted, and just be, complacent about being distracted because I got this promise. I just continue being distracted and I'm going to reach perfection. You won't reach perfection. Sorry, Charlie. Nice try.
So,
That's not what the explanation means. That's not the purport of what Prabhupada said.
so how to understand it correctly, Maharaj?
How to understand it correctly. As cleansing goes on, that's the preamble, what makes sure that cleansing will go on? That's a good question. But it's effort and mercy. That's what cleansing goes on. So I'm imperfect. And I'm chanting imperfectly because I'm imperfect. Then cleansing is going on. It's very slow. Very, very slow. It's like, this is a nice example, putting a pot for cooking up in the air and the fire is 15 feet below. You bring the pot closer to the fire, it's going to cook more quickly. The rice that's in the pot. But there's something happening, but very slowly. So, but you have to bring the pot to the flame. The inattentive has to become attentive. The distracted has to become undistracted. So how do you get to the undistracted if you're distracted? That's the cleansing. So the Chaita Darpana Marjanam is the beginning, but it's not the end. The cleansing can, according to the 9 stages of bhakti, there's the first 7 are all sadhana. And then comes bhava bhakti, then comes prema bhakti. But if am I doing the sadhana bhakti and become complacent or business as usual, I'm not going to go to the stages of nishtha. I'm not going to go to the stage of ruchi, not going to go to the stage of asakti. It takes intelligence directing the mind towards the object or the goal or towards Krishna. The potential is, so back to what does it mean? The potential is there, but then you continue, you have to go to the next step. If you continue in the complacent phase, you won't go to the next step. You have to be energized, utsahan, nishchaya, dharya. You have to maintain those steps in the right direction.
So Maharaj, it's still the stage of nishtha, or it continues throughout?
What's your question again?
Maharaj, like I get this, what you explained of the pot and bringing it closer.
Yes.
And we have these 9 stages of bhakti.
Yes.
So yes, initially there's faith and then sadhu sangha and we're doing our thing. So the idea is to be more attentive, more serious. But then gradually as you do this cleansing is happening and you come to the stage of nishtha. So even there we have to be still mindful.
Of course.
So we've developed the taste, you're still want to be spontaneous.
The stage of nishtha means nashta prayeshu abhadreshu. Nashta prayeshu abhadreshu. That's the stage of nishtha, where the abhadras are still present. Anarthas, unwanted things, are still present. But because bhakti in the nishtha stage is marked by, bhakti is so strong, they can't act. Is it possible you can recede from the nishtha stage back? Yes.
Okay.
But supposing you just stay in the nishtha stage, it's not therefore guaranteed you're going to go up. You have to be, the mindfulness question, you'll be mindful. And ever increasingly to the point where in the ruchi stage, which is beyond the nishtha stage, the focus, the intelligence is guiding the mind with effort to the object, the worshipable Lord. In the stage of asakti, it's no longer effort, but it's spontaneous, and the focus is the Lord, not attaining the stage of taste. Asakti, you're attached.
Got it.
Now, so the answer, back to the initial question you're asking, you'll achieve, provided, using your metaphors or adjectives, sincerity, continuous effort. And then what does that look like? It's described, but it's not automatically. This isn't an automatic process. We don't want an automatic process because it's a devotional process. And it's a relationship. And if you want a meaningful relationship, you extend yourself to that person whom you would like to have the relationship with, and they'll extend themselves to you. Especially a very naturally loving person will extend themselves to you according to the love that you extend to them. And even if it takes some time, you're extending, you don't feel the reciprocation, keep extending. Because the person on the other end is the worthy, loving person. So that effort is continuously required. I'll just say the same thing. I like this one very much. For a whole month, we sang one song, the Damodarastakam. And that one song was to tell us, you can't bind Krishna with rope, but with love. So it's not a practice. The practice alone doesn't get you there. Practice is necessary, but then mercy is equally necessary. So, relationship. Yes?
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Just follow up on Amritanda Prabhu's point. It's a comment. I'm thinking the mindfulness of Buddha, Buddhism, be attentive to cleanliness, truthfulness, ahimsa, non-violence.
Yes.
Those are the attributes we as devotee, as bhakta, we can also use to be mindful in our relationship with Krishna.
Yes.
Those are the tools. We can't just ignore. What I'm saying is, in my mind, I don't want to minimize those tools. Those are good tools to be a sattvic, good person.
I'm going to say two things. We have a punchline. You're making a comment. We don't trash those things. We utilize those things in Krishna service.
Correct.
Two things. One thing just specific in response to your question. according to our acharyas, according to Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur and others who he is explaining, Bhakti Sandarbha and Jiva Goswami, etc. There's, in the stage of ruchi, there's two types. There's the type where, let me try to get this correct. There's a spontaneous direction in one's heart, in one's cheta, mind, consciousness, towards the Supreme. And it's achieved, ruchi is achieved in a spontaneous way because of attachment to the Supreme. There's a second kind that isn't yet that same attainment, but there's semblances of the mode of goodness qualifications, and one is attached to those semblance of mode of goodness qualifications, and one can achieve a kind of steadiness that resembles the steadiness of attachment to the Supreme, but it's not there yet. Then so it helps you get there. It can help you get there, but it's a different type of, I'm using the wrong word, they're a different type of nishtha, it's a different type of steadiness that looks like the steadiness being attached to bhakti activities itself. So there's three different categories. Wait a minute, don't go away yet. Pay attention. You want this? It's a detail. It's a detail. Is responsive to your question. Yes, those things that are assisting awakening of bhakti, we attend to mindfully, assiduously, carefully, devotionally. And one can be more devoted to those qualities than to the object. And that's a different kind of steadiness than one is primarily attached to the object, striving to become attached to the object. And then those persons who, the conclusion is, there's two categories. One may be in the steady in bhakti and show some bad qualities. They may become arrogant or angry or, short-tempered or, not always, but sometimes it comes out because they're not there yet, because it's nishtha. So the full stage of nishtha, I was using the wrong word. The full stage of nishtha is when both the characteristics, mode of goodness, the characteristics that are assist in attaining bhakti, and the bhakti itself are steady. That's one response to what you said. So we engage, but not specifically in the way the Buddhist does. Second, this is Jiva Goswami. I learned from studying Tattva Sandarbha. I'd like to share it. I haven't read Buddha's teachings, but he has, and he explains that this mindfulness of Buddhism has a certain Sanskrit term, kshanak vijnanavad. Vada means doctrine. Vijnana, in his use of that term, is consciousness. Our use of the term is a little different, but kshana means this a fraction of a blink of an eye. Time calculated by the atom. The division of a second is kshana. So mindfulness in less than a second, in a moment to moment. And his teaching is, according to Jiva Goswami, is consciousness is nothing but the moment. So mindfulness means be in the moment, 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 be in the moment. Now, we use the same principle. It's a teaching that comes in Uddhava Krishna's teaching to Uddhava Gita. Same without the details in the verses, and it's the 11th canto. One may be satisfied performing a particular duty in devotion, and the completion of that activity in devotion, one feels some satisfaction. I made the offering, we had a big festival, I did the arti, I chanted my 16 rounds. I'm feeling satisfaction in the attainment of a goal in bhakti, as opposed to the mindfulness of the purpose of the activity of bhakti itself. When there's satisfaction in the activity of bhakti itself, there's no limit. There's no end. It's a different kind of satisfaction. It's a more complete. So it's not just the moment-to-moment mindfulness. For a Buddhist, what's on the other side? The goal, Shanak Vijnanavad, the consciousness is what? The goal is nirvana, enlightenment, which means cessation of material existence, nothingness. The goal of moment to moment is nothingness, or nirvana. And the goal of the devotee is to be with Krishna, moment to moment to moment, and practice being in the moment with Krishna, not just the accomplishment of an activity, and feel satisfaction. It's okay. Feel satisfaction by accomplishing your activities in bhakti. It's okay. And keep going. Back to his question. Keep going. And what's the end? Just prema. It's not just bhava or ruchi. It's prema. And what's that like? That's certainly mindfulness. But somethingness, not nothingness. Or everythingness. Or rasa. So there's a response to your comment. Yes, we engage in those things, but not in and of themselves. They're secondary. We engage them, but they're secondary.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Something up front here?
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj. I have two questions. One is, the first one is maybe you covered in the class, but I didn't get it. When we are discussing the first excellence of the holy name is, I remember there's one slide quoting Bhakti Vinoda, who is saying the root cause of our descending to this world is envy, followed by many other bad qualities.
Yes.
And later we also talked about the root cause of suffering is ignorance.
Yes.
And I'm trying to have some clarification, which is at the root. Is envy or ignorance?
The statement is ignorance, desire is at the root. And when ignorance influences desire, it becomes ignorant desire. So you can say ignorance is the root. But behind ignorance there's desire. Desire is of the soul. So ignorance influences desire to have ignorant desires, to have ignorant activity, to have karma or suffering. So for the devotee, the root cause of suffering is ignorance, not desire. because desire is of the soul. So now, the answer to my response, the answer to your question is the root cause is misplaced desire, which you can say is ignorance, but ignorance is ignorance the cause of our misuse of free will, or is it, according to Bhagavad Gita, icha dvesha, or desire and hate, or raga dvesha, desire and hate? It's misplaced desire, misplaced free will. That's the root. And you can say, I would say, misplaced desire, that's a type of ignorance, but the fundamental is misplaced desire. That's my answer to your question. So back to, it's Bhaktivinoda Thakur's statement that envy, that it has, corollaries that come from that one. But same as Bhagavad Gita verse, icha dvesha samutena dvandva mohina bharata. And to do that, you have to be ignorant. So ignorance covers, but ignorance can be removed. So it's not exactly the cause. It's misplaced desire or misuse of free will. Next question.
Next is, we see in this first verse of Shikshashtakam, the 7 excellences is presented by Mahaprabhu in a certain order.
Yes.
And I'm thinking if there is any meaning or significance of Mahaprabhu to design it in this order.
Taking the assistance of our acharyas, which is what I have to do, and I advise others to do, they indicate there's a purpose. It's a sequence from Adar Shraddha all the way to Prema. So there is a purpose in the sequence, and that's giving a sketch in really simple language of the stages of bhakti. Not exactly the 9 stages, but the stages of bhakti.
So it represents a progressive development. Okay.
Yes. From the seed to the mature fruit. Okay. Looks like that's it. Fantastic. Well, we'll see you tomorrow, hopefully, weather permitting and circumstance permitting, and see you tomorrow. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Thank you all for coming for this first session of this japa retreat. Just a housekeeping thing. Prasadam is available for all. You can honor it. For tomorrow, probably everyone has the schedule, right? Anyone doesn't have here? Everyone has the schedule, right? So tomorrow morning, 7:45 a.m., we start with the Maharaj session with the quality of chanting. There will be 2 sessions. There will be continuous sessions tomorrow. After that, there will be some panel discussions, short stories around 11:30. Please do not miss that. We do have few devotees who have been transformed by this chanting. We took effort to put those stories. They will be here in person, and that will be good, and followed up with the panel discussion. And the sessions will be going on until like evening 7 o'clock, 7:30. No break with the kirtans in between. Okay? Please do encourage other devotees also to attend. And one other highlight, in between the programs, there will be some skits as well, just like last year, okay? So please do encourage other devotees to come and attend all these sessions. Thank you. Hare Krishna.